Welcome everyone to the Disruptive Jam. My name is Carrie Forbes and I am your resident DJ, that's Disruptive Jammer, and really happy to have you join me on this podcast. It's a place where we get to talk about all of the things that surprise us, that throw us off, but also become our opportunities. So let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome to the Disruptive Jam, this episode, which is called Head of Canvas. I am so excited to have guest Claude Comeau, who is a master hairstylist and an artist here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Now, what we're going to find out is what happens when someone who is destined to create finally meets their medium, or I should say mediums. And so you're going to learn a lot about the unexpected paths that lead us to our true calling. Hello, Claude. Welcome to the Disruptive Jam. And I am really, really excited to have you here.
Well, I'm super pumped to be here too, actually. This is something new for me to try, and it's exciting.
Well, it's kind of new, although we're going to get to some of your background, because that's what's really fascinating here. So this episode is called Head of Canvas. And I picked that because when we had a chat last week, we were kind of talking a little bit about this. You had said, this is, I see things as a head of canvas. Now, the reason that's really important for our listeners is that you are, by definition, a master doesn't even cover it for me, master stylist. But there's more to you than that. And what we're going to get at today is how all these pieces come together, because there's more than meets the eye to Claude.
Well,
so
there might be a few hidden secrets here and there. But
well, we're going to get right into it. So one of the things that I like to go really back to the beginning, because one of the things that I've learned about you is you are a very creative individual. Mm-hmm. And that started from the very onset. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, it started 62 years ago. I was adopted by a French-Acadian family. And this was a family that was very creative, very artistic, starting with my mom. My mom was a watercolor artist. She taught at school. She also taught art in school. So oftentimes things she would teach, she would practice on us first to make sure that it would translate well and that the kids would get the results they wanted. So I've always been around art in one form or another. My grandmother was a master quilter. My godmother is an amazing watercolor artist as well. So I've always been around it. So it was always inspired and always encouraged to follow in those things.
And to me, that's really fascinating. I know myself, being a person who discovered later in life that my biological roots were different. There's always this nature and nurture, and where, those influences. So you've shared a bit about your influences, but who do you think are the people that most helped you, carve that creative side or really encourage it?
I'd probably say my biggest influence was my godmother. She was just this person that I looked up to all the time. She could do anything she set her mind to. If she wanted to upholster furniture, she'd do it and do a great job. If she wanted to hang wallpaper, she'd do it, do a great job. If she wanted to paint, she'd do it, do a great job. Everything she touched and did, she did well. And that to me was like the god. I just looked at her as a god, basically, and always wanted to kind of emulate her in a lot of ways. And I think I have. I
would say so. And you said that, everything she did well. Now, one of the things I've noticed is I think over the pandemic, you took up bread baking. And I'm looking at these pictures and I'm going I could have bought this down the street at this fancy bakery. So I think, that level of inspiration, you carry through. So you've got that side to yourself, but how do you end up in hair? How do you take us there?
Hair was kind of like a bit of an accident, a happy accident, I would say. It's not something I had ever really thought about doing long term. My dad was a barber at one point in his life, so it was never poo-pooed on as doing hair was like a bad thing or a negative thing, because I've heard so many people say you're smarter than that. Why are you just doing hair? But you know what? What makes you happy? But I kind of fell into it by accident. I was in university. I wasn't quite sure if this is the path I wanted to go down. And I just thought, I took a break for a year. And I thought, well, rather than just do nothing, I'll take hairdressing. It's only a year course. It'll teach me some skills and we'll go with that. But 30 some odd years later, I'm still doing it.
So I'm sitting here thinking at that time, right? here you are, like many young people these days, kind of you get out of school and you've got this university path. Mm-hmm. What might you have done if you hadn't changed your mind?
Well, it's like everything else in my life. I jump from one thing to another and try as many things as I can. And so I started out in computer science, which I learned very quickly that wasn't the path I was meant to be on. It was just too technical and I wasn't around people enough. For me, I had to be around people. So I did that, and then I switched to music because we were always encouraged to do music at home. I studied piano, I did saxophone, I sang in choirs. So I thought, well, I could do that. I enjoyed that. But yeah, when I got into hairdressing, there's something that just clicked about it that I loved it. It was a creative outlet, and I got to hang out with people all day that I like.
Well, and that makes I think, a pretty significant difference when you look at when you mentioned just a few moments ago, and I think, I'm tying this to, what you said about wanting to be around people and doing things that you like. Mm-hmm. When that moment came when you realized you're not on the right path, what was it inside that said, you just got to, do something different?
I don't know if it's just a feeling you get and for me, I think it's just part of, I get bored easily. Yes. So I need to constantly challenge myself to do something new. And just to give you the example of when I started baking during COVID, I didn't just start baking. I ordered a textbook from a baking school in the UK and I studied baking. So when I started doing it, I knew what I was doing. And I've done that for everything. So even my painting, when I started painting, I studied painting, just to figure it out.
No, I would have thought growing up in a household with a mother who was a painter, you just would have jumped right in. So
yeah, she did. She painted in watercolors primarily, or oil-based inks, which are a much different ballgame than what I do. I paint in acrylics, and so there's much more structure when you're painting with oils and acrylics, whereas watercolor it's more fluid and liquidy. And I need the structure, which is what I figured out about my life. I need rules, I need structure, and that's it.
Tell me about how you apply that, though, to your craft, so to hair. And I think, if you think about head as a canvas, mm-hmm. when you're sitting down with a client, what's going through your mind?
Well, for me, like you said, head is a canvas, and every canvas is different. Every client is different. Every face shape is different. Every eye color is different. And these are things you have to factor in when you're doing hair, because just because a client comes in with a picture of something fabulous doesn't mean it's going to look good on them. And that's my job, to kind of coach them in the right direction and kind of get them to where it's going to look good and they're going to be their best versions of themselves. So when I do hair, I kind of look at it as art in a sense, whereas, like I said, every canvas is different. So I'm not going to paint every canvas the same way. I'm not going to cut every canvas the same way. I'm going to cut according to the face shape, according to bone structure. And for me, it's more like sculpture than it is actually cutting hair. Yeah. And the same with painting. Like, instead of painting on a flat canvas, I look at each strand of hair as its own canvas.
Yeah, so that's so fascinating. And I think a lot of times when people think about craft in general, they're not necessarily thinking about, you've got a few elements there. You've got study and you've got communication all around that as well, like that back and forth.
Yes.
So you are a communicator.
I am a communicator. I kind of have to force myself a little bit to do that because I think I'm deep down a bit of an introvert, and I do like my alone time, and I like just to have my own chill time. But it's something I've had to work on a little bit. And I think a lot of I used to do radio work. I used to do theater. I used to do many, many things that kind of forced me out in front of people. That might not have been my most comfortable thing, but it kind of really helped me in my journey throughout my whole career.
Now, that's an interesting one too, because, and I also see the same thing. I know I wouldn't be doing podcasting if I didn't like radio way back. So tell us a little bit about that experience and how that shaped you.
About the radio?
Yeah.
The radio was a blast. The only thing I didn't like about it was the hours, because I was on the air from 6 to 9 in the morning. So there was a lot of prep work being done before the 6 o'clock air time. But it really, I don't know, I enjoyed it because even though I was being social and talking to people, I was by myself in the studio.
Yeah.
So I had the benefit of both. Like, I was there by myself. I didn't have to perform for anybody. But the people that were actually listening to me, they're the people I had to perform for.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was a blast. I really enjoyed every minute of it. But after a while, the hours started getting to me a little bit.
Yes, I can imagine. And I suppose, when you look at all of those elements, whether it's the radio and the way you're communicating, whether you're painting, whether you're baking, I think you do gardening as well.
I do gardening as well. Yeah, yeah.
So all of these, and I'm going back to your godmother, here we have this willingness to just jump in. And yet you've got this little side of yourself that you keep returning to that says, oh, there's still this, I have to push myself.
Yes,
I have
scary. It's scary.
So I think many people, to me, the difference between someone like you who actually goes and does it and people who would like to, there's something in there. So what is it that helps you make that leap?
I have no fear of failure. I don't. I will jump into any situation head first and try it out. For me, the worst thing that can happen is I don't like it or I'm not good at it. And you know what? I have plenty of things I like and I have plenty of things I'm good at. So if that's going to be the one thing I'm not, whatever.
Yeah.
So for me, failure is not trying.
It's interesting because that gets talked a lot about in the startup world, for example, and in technology and in those spaces. And we say that we want people to fail forward and to take those risks, but then we punish them for it. So how did you get that safe space to be able to do that?
I just surrounding myself with the people that I want to be around and the people that are going to support me and encourage me and not compliment me so much, but just kind of boost me up a little bit. So, because I know I'm not good at everything and there are things that I have to work on to get good at, and I know I can, but I need people around me that are going to lift me up and are going to encourage me to keep going, you know, and because there's plenty of people out there that are going to knock you down. That's just the way it's going to go. When I first started painting, an artist client of mine who I respect very much said to me, she said, well, I hope you have thick skin. And I said, well, I do. I said, I've been competing in the hair world for a long time, and you have to have a thick skin. Otherwise, you'll do it once and never try it again. But that's one thing I've never let people talk me out of things. And I think that's from the background I grew up with and the people that I surrounded myself with. I think that's the key.
And that's so critical because a lot of times when people are moving forward or doing something different, they kind of go at it like a loner, like in that, like I am all on my own.
Yeah.
So again, you've got this background of creative support kind of around you. So when you're competing, so now I've got this vision, and you're in the hair world, and you've won many awards.
I've had a few, yes. I've had some success, yes.
So do you get nervous at these events?
I want to throw up every time, every time. But as long as I can work through the first 5 minutes of it, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Once I get into my zone and my element and start doing what I love to do and I know I'm good at, I'm fine. It's just the first 5 minutes of people staring at you and people judging you, walking around with clipboards and taking notes as you're working. That's the scary part because I'm like, what's in that note? What'd you write down? Like, what am I doing wrong?
Right. Yeah. And maybe they're writing something right, but we automatically jump to...
We always go to the negative first. Absolutely. Yeah. But, it came from not being afraid of failure. Like, just push yourself. And what's the worst that can happen? You don't win. Oh, well.
And then you just move on to something. And there's something else that could be out there.
Absolutely. And I might win next year.
Exactly. So, when you think about some of the challenges that you had to face, some of the tougher ones, What stands out to you, and how did you overcome them to get to this place where you're able to have that thick skin and just kind of let it roll?
Let it roll. Again, and I keep going to this, it's about the support. It's about having people. And my parents were amazing. They were very different people. My mother was very creative and artistic. My father was, a good old guy that worked hard and, people loved and respected. But they were very different. But they both worked together to encourage us to be the best we could be. And I remember when I was younger too, if I didn't do well on a test at school or something like that, my mother being a school teacher, you would think she'd be like, oh, you can do better. You have got to work harder, blah, blah, blah. But it was never that. It was always about, you did the best you could at that time. Don't let it, if you're not happy, just brush it off and keep going.
It's so refreshing because I think about the world that we're in today and all the messages that we get fed to us. They become even more competitive, it seems. Like it almost seems like the opposite that we've placed on people as we go. How do you keep that perspective while, and that keeps you kind of fresh and able to just jump into this new things?
I don't know. I think I've just had like a huge variety of interests my whole life. And again, being encouraged to do things and not being afraid, whether it was academics or artistic or whatever it was. I know I keep going back to that, but I think that is probably one of the strongest things in my life that I've had my whole life, And who knows? Like, I know, I mentioned I was adopted. Who knows? It might have been a different story. Like, I often think about that. I often think, like, who would I have been?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I'd still be me deep down, but who would I have been? What path would I have led? I don't know. I'm not sure.
And I think that's what's so interesting about that, again, that nature and nurture question is the people, as you say, who support us and who are surround us, bring out different parts of ourselves that maybe we can't find or don't see within us. So, and I keep thinking, would you have ended up continuing in computer science? Who knows?
Possible. Would I have even gone to university?
There's another question.
Who knows? Like, I don't know, and, I'm not saying it wouldn't have been a good situation. It probably would have been loving people around me too. But I think your paths are dependent on where you grew up, who you grew up with, what encouragements you get, that kind of thing.
That foundation.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
A lot of what when I hear your path, it's very flowing, right? And I guess that kind of goes along with the art. So is that your general approach to life in general, is just to kind of go with the flow?
Absolutely. 100%. It's always been the way I grow. And I know my partner, for one, it drives him crazy sometimes because I am a little bit too relaxed at times. But, it is what it is. This is just who I am and always have been. I'm a happy person. I don't let things drag me down. I just don't. If there's negativity around it, I walk away. I don't need it in my life.
So who do you think right now are, we've talked a lot about your foundational influences, but if you were to think about people, whether they're celebrities or people that you aspire to, or that you think, there's things that I'd still love to do, that those people who inspire you, do you have anybody that comes to mind?
I think for me, the people that inspire me are not necessarily celebrities or people like that, because they have different opportunities that we don't have.
Right.
So we got to make up our own opportunities. We don't have the money necessarily to spend on these big things that we want, right? So for me, looking up to celebrities is not the best thing. To me, I look up to just people in general who work hard.
Yeah.
Who work hard and, love hard and just whatever it is they're in. Those are the people I look up to.
Yeah. So that's the other piece that all of these things require. And I think that's what we haven't really said under it is a level of work ethic. And it sounds to me like that was part of the, yes, go be yourself, but you actually have to do things.
Well, my dad was the best inspiration for work ethic, I have to say. My dad was a paraplegic. He was in a car accident when he was 18 years old and broke his neck. So he had struggles physically most of his life. But he ran a greasy spoon little burger joint for 37 years. He did not let anything stop him. He just worked hard. And you could tell it was difficult. You could tell he would struggle physically, but he never stopped.
Wow.
Never stopped.
Now that's inspiration.
Absolutely. 100% inspiration. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about, I know I have to keep up with all of the things that you're involved in, right? So I know that you're still painting and you've had some on display.
I have, yeah.
I know this is high garden season.
Yes, that's where I'm at most of the time this time of year. Yeah.
Anything else? Is there anything else that's twinkling in your eye that you're thinking about trying?
Well, I did take a pottery class recently, my first time on a wheel, and I have to say I quite liked it. Yes. And I wasn't too bad at it either, apparently. So my walls were nice and straight, and So I might look into that at some point. I think as long as it's creative, I was even thinking about rejoining a choir, because I used to love singing. And, a couple of years ago, I went to a Christmas concert for the Gay Men's Choir here in Halifax. And I was so inspired by these guys. And just the sheer joy that they had up on that stage. And I was like, I want that. I want that again. Like this looks like a fun gang of people to hang out with. So I might do that.
I think I'm sitting here listening to you and going like, yeah, I want to join a choir now.
Yes.
Like this is the thing. So I spend a lot of time with younger people. I have a son who's almost 20, and sometimes I find, they're and I was there too. When you're starting out, the world almost seems impossible, right?
Yep.
And yet, a lot of, I think, the magic of living isn't necessarily how you define yourself by how you make money, right? It's also a lot about how you continue to learn and grow, I think, in many ways. So if you had advice for younger people who are trying to figure out kind of that path right now, especially if they've got those kinds of struggles, what might you tell them?
I would just say, don't listen to the noise. Ignore the noise. That's all it is. It's noise, and it's meant to bring you down. That's what that noise is for. And if you just say no, you're not going to take it, you're not going to listen to it, you'll be way better off. It's just, don't listen to the negativity. There's always going to be negativity.
Yeah.
Even from people you love and respect and trust. When I first moved to Halifax from my little small community in Comeauville, I had friends telling me that, oh, don't bother, you're not going to like it, you're not going to make it, you'll be back in a year. And to me, that wasn't necessarily a negative. It kind of pushed me to prove them wrong. I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's not going to be a year. It's going to be many, many years.
And here you are.
And here I am.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go back. I'm looking at who you are as this assembly of creator, of, learner of life, of seeker of joy, and this message that I think so many of us lose sight of along the way, which is, don't worry about it. Just try things.
Just try
them and get out there. And then that all becomes part of kind of who you are. Absolutely.
And like I said, don't take fear as a failure, or don't take failure as the fear.
Right.
If you don't make it, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be just fine.
All right. Well, let's, I guess, kind of wrap up just with a couple, in terms of making a career of hair, and especially today, I'm sure things have changed maybe since when you first got started. But if anybody was aspiring to be the kind of creator, not just someone who goes to get a paycheck, how would you guide them? What would you tell them to do?
I would say jump at any opportunity you have. If a competition comes up and you're kind of like, well, I might do it, try it. Find a great mentor. That's the other thing. Like there's a lot of hairdressers in this world that will pull you down with them, but there's a lot of them out there that will push you up higher. And those are the people you need to find your family. You need to find your home, because they're the people who are going to help you along the way. And work hard. Work hard, work hard, work hard. Don't be afraid of trying anything new, and just go for it.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I can tell you that I am inspired now.
Oh, good.
And I'm sitting here thinking, what do I want to do with the rest of my day? I want to go paint something.
Yeah.
I want to go bake something.
And you're a very talented artist as well, my dear.
Well, I appreciate that. Although the show is about you today.
That's okay. I can share.
But I do want to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing about your path, about what makes you tick, and about sharing how others can really embrace anything that you really want to do and just go for it.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Carrie. I've enjoyed every step of this. And maybe this will be my next path. Give more podcasts. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, I'll be tuning in for that for sure. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what Claude's going to do next today, but I do know that whatever he tackles, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And that's because of the way he approaches life. If we look at it, he creates from his inner being. He's not afraid to take risks. He's not afraid to try things. And life is about more than just how we make money. It's about all the things we do to contribute ourselves in a bigger way. And I think that we can learn so much from not just the creative side, but that fearlessness that comes from confidence that you can do it. So with that, I'm going to leave you until next time, and keep jamming and keep being disruptive. We'll see you then.